Hey everybody, so here we are, welcome. We are kicking off a brand new series called Canvas, and we are on site at a local art studio, Bruno Capolongo Fine Art in Grimsby, Ontario. He's been a longtime friend of mine, and I gotta tell you, Bruno, when I look at his artwork, they're absolute masterpieces, and I've gotta celebrate them as a masterpiece because of the detail. It's crazy when you think about how every brush stroke, just kind of creates this beautiful image, and his skill. And what amazes me is just the way that he can take like all these textures, and he can take all these layers, and he can form each layer seamlessly into the next to create this unbelievable finished product. I mean, I just got to celebrate it when I look at it because I'm not an artist. But maybe we need to not just celebrate the finished product, but we have to actually take a step back and think about the process that it took to get there. Because in reality, to create a great painting, it takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of vision, and obviously takes a lot of skill, which I believe really is a gift. But maybe with the masterpiece, we don't just celebrate the finished product, and we don't just celebrate the process to get there, but maybe we have to take it back a step further, and we have to go back to the starting point, right back to the very beginning. Because that's where every masterpiece begins, the blank canvas. It's a gift, really, because it's like a fresh start. Even for a moment, me as a terrible artist, even I can be the greatest artist in the world because I can see what the painting could be on the blank canvas. Here's the problem. I can't get what's in my mind onto the canvas in any meaningful way. Here's some of my work as a kid. This is Bionic Boy, author and illustrator, John Bryan. So as you can see, I was never destined to be a great artist, and apparently not an architect either, because every building in my book is slanted to the left or to the right. But before the brushstroke hits the canvas, before the first touch of the paint to the page, there's this tension and there's this anticipation. Because again, we can kind of go anywhere. We got a brand new start. As we find ourselves in this time and in this season during COVID, we've heard all kinds of phrases and terminology that has come out of it. And one of those ideas is that we're in this new normal, that life is never going to be the same. And when we hear that and we think about the new landscape, we also understand there's a lot of restrictions that we're facing. And this idea that we can't do a lot of things because times have changed and just the context we find ourselves in is so different. But what if this season, what if the time that we're in right now, what if it doesn't have to be about restrictions? I mean, what if it was actually a season that we could find freedom? Hear me out, right? Like, think about this for a second. What if in this time that we've had to evaluate life, and hopefully it hasn't been about Cool Ranch Doritos and Xbox, 24/7, but hopefully we've evaluated life to the point that we maybe think about this. What if our relationships could begin in a better way and they could become more healthy? Or couldn't we find some sense of freedom from a struggle that we're in, some sort of habit, even sin that has gripped us and weighed us down? And isn't it true that out of evaluating life, maybe we could understand that our lives could actually be on the verge of becoming masterpieces? Because here's the really cool thing. That's how God sees us. It says in His Word in Ephesians 2:10 that we are God's workmanship created in Christ Jesus to do those good works which God has prepared in advance for us to do. And that's the opportunity that's before us. That's the canvas or the fresh start that we get to begin with, and we get to begin in community. But you know what, if we're honest with ourselves, even though God is the master artist, it's kind of like we've taken the brush out of His hand and we've tried to paint our lives in an entirely different way. And again, if we're honest with ourselves, we've got it wrong so often. So maybe we need to come back to that place where we're letting God, be the artist in our life, creating the masterpiece that He believes that we are. So those are big questions. And I understand that we're all in different places on this spiritual journey, and believe me, God understands that as well. But even though we're in all these different places with all different stories and ideas and contexts, what if there was a place that we could all begin together? A place where we could find a fresh start, so to speak? Well, you know what? There is. This guy Matthew, he talked about it. He was a follower of Jesus, and he recorded all of his teaching in his gospel. And there's this one place where they're on a hillside, and Jesus is giving this radical new teaching, these new ideas around how to live. And in this one moment, he says to this crowd of people, seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, speaking of God, and all these things will be given to you. Now, in the context of that, what exactly is he saying? Well, this was a group of people that was really in love with the things of the world. And because they were really in love with the things of the world, there was a lot of worry and anxiety that came with it. And mix that in with empty religion, this idea that you could just do good stuff to get right with God, throw that into the mix, and we're not surprised, or we shouldn't be surprised, as to why people are a little concerned about where they stood with God and also a little anxious about the day-to-day. But Jesus says, hey, the pagans chase after these things, right? Pagans, those that don't believe in my Father, they chase after that stuff because that's where their focus lies. But listen, for you, seek first my Father's kingdom and his righteousness, and these things will be given to you. So what he's saying is, my Father provides for your needs, right? And even though you're worried about, what are you going to eat and what are you going to wear, don't worry about those things because my Father will provide. Now, it doesn't mean that we sit around and we wait for bags of cash to fall from the sky or Meals on Wheels to show up at our door and we do nothing. Obviously, we put in a good day's work. We live life, right? We're purposeful, we're active, and God meets us there and he provides for our needs, right? We know that he does that and we can share stories about how he does that. But it's this idea of focus. For these people, they were focused on the stuff of this earth. And Jesus is saying, listen, the focus needs to change. You need to seek first my Father's kingdom and his righteousness, living rightly in him, honoring him with your life. And all these things, all the needs that you have, your basic needs, they'll be given to you. It's a focus shift. And for us, we need to think about what it looks like to start fresh, because that, in essence, is our canvas. Our canvas is this. It's to seek first his kingdom, first, before anything else. And all these things will be given unto us. We can trust him in that. So here we are now as a community, as a life group, as an encounter group, ready and willing, hopefully, to jump in and say this: God, I don't want to paint my life anymore. I don't want to paint the story. I want to give the brush back to you. And if you're willing to paint my life into a masterpiece for your purpose, for your glory, with your direction, then I'm in. So as you get set to dig a little deeper, I hope the thought of a brand new start with a brand new canvas amongst friends really inspires you.